Okay, I don't think you got these.
Oh.
Did you guys make it out yesterday to Cody's farewell?
Yes,
thing?
I did.
I didn't. I called and left him a message on his phone, but then Ryan said,
Yep, I was there.
yeah. I had seen him on Friday at the train. Hello.
Sorry, I'm late. Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Anyone else coming?
No, just us. Just us.
Just the four of us?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got all three commissioners today?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got.
Perfect. All right. Sorry. Yeah, I
That's
guess.
okay.
Borac had something come up. I don't know. In Ralph's out of town. All right. So I guess we're appointing somebody to
Yeah.
the board.
Judge Grendel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wait.
Great. Morning.
Good morning.
How are ya?
Good. By
Great.
yourself?
Busy.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So Vicki, then do we recess from our board and
Yes,
go into?
yes.
Oh, okay. You guys have a meeting?
Yeah, we're in.
We're
Oh,
in
okay,
recess
go ahead.
now, so. yeah.
Okay.
We'll recess from the Board of Commissioners and go on to the Portage Geogga Joint Board of Commissioners meeting.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions regarding the appointment of Jeffrey Huntsberger to the detention center?
Yeah, I think
He's there, right?
yeah.
He's been coming to the meetings,
Yeah.
he just is not official. That's
Yeah,
why he
I think
needed to
he's
meet.
what, Judge Grendel's appointment, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, if not, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution appointment of Attorney Jeffrey Huntsberger to the Portage Geogga Detention Center Board of Trustees effective immediately through May 31st, 2024.
I'll second that.
Roll calling.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
Vicky.
Yes.
Very good.
And then we have the journal entries. Did anyone have any questions? Pertaining to
Do
the
we need to do
journal?
those one by one, or can we just do the
Yeah, we probably have to do one.
journal entries?
I think we individually approve them on this board.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve the journal entry. The Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the June 17th, 2019 certificate of county auditor that the total appropriations from each fund do not exceed the amended official estimate of resources to the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2018, as presented by the Portage County Auditor.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Go ahead, Kath. Roll calling.
So it's Tim,
Tim and Kathleen second.
okay. It's Tim,
Yes.
I made the motion to.
Oh, you did, I'm
approve the
sorry.
journal
Oh, I'm
entry.
sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Yep, you got a motion and a second,
Okay.
right?
I'll
Yeah.
have Vicki, yeah.
all
Okay.
right, who's second?
Vicky.
Vicky? Okay.
Yeah.
So Sabrina,
Is the mover, yes. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve
Wait,
the.
we need to do the roll call.
Oh, okay, yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Tim,
Aye.
and Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll make a motion to approve the journal entry that the Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the August 5th, 2019 official certificate of estimated resources for the year beginning January 1st, 2020.
Second.
Roll calling.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Tim?
Aye.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the journal entry. The Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the July 19th, 2019 Resolution 2019-16 from the
So-
Portage,
Oh, sorry.
from the Portage County Geogga Juvenile Detention Center Joint Board of Trustees accepting the resignation of interim superintendent Brandon Winarchik.
Second.
Roll calling.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Yes.
Kathleen? Vicky?
Yes.
Tim?
Aye.
Okay, and I'll make a motion to approve the journal entry that the Joint Board of Commissioners acknowledge receipt of the July 19th, 2019 Resolution 2019-17 from the Portage Geogga Juvenile Detention Center Joint Board of Trustees appointing Greg Lomax as interim superintendent.
Second.
Roll calling.
Sabrina,
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Tim?
Aye. So, okay, so it looks like what some of the superintendents have left over the last,
Yeah. Tom Renner left, they
then another
appointed
one left.
Brandon,
Okay.
and now we're to Greg.
Greg, okay. And, have you heard anything, has there been any discussion since last time we met with the board? And I know, didn't you all go meet with, I think our director from Job and Family Services came down and went through a tour of the detention center, and they were looking at maybe different ways to.
Repurpose.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I attended
Okay.
it. Vicki and Kathleen were on vacation,
Okay.
but I attended it, and they are proposing to repurpose a portion of it for like, I want to say, recovery,
Mm-hmm.
services. And so, but they're just starting to look into it to see what they need to do. They actually had someone from the state that I guess gives the certificates for those
Mhm.
types of facilities. And so they were
Okay.
just basically proposing it and starting the
See if
discussions
there's
on it.
ways to.
Yeah, no
reduce-
decision was being made. It was just that's what they were proposing and they're looking into.
Okay,
Mhm.
trying to find some ways to reduce costs, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I'm sure, you know, with all the turnover here and changing of the superintendent, you know, probably a whole lot of hasn't been done, I'm assuming, on that front, you know, with the, you know, the role of, you know, the consistent changing there, but, you know, I would like to just propose that we, you know, because we only meet, what, quarterly or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
very rarely. You know, I think, and it's a strange position the commissioners are in, that I feel that our role that we play in this, you know, I feel like we don't have a whole lot of, you know, maybe we might have a little bit of influence, but other than that, we don't have a whole lot of say in
A
what
lot of
happens.
responsibility and no authority.
Right, 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 yeah. So the judges, I feel, and the board, right?
yeah, they sort of give, I think the judges sort of give the direction to the board, and then the board all agrees, and then, you know, then they bring it back to us.
Yeah.
And if they're all on board, normally, you know,
Yeah.
they're in the trenches, whereas we're not.
I don't know if they're looking at the financials maybe as, or see that end of it as, I mean, I'm sure they see it, but.
Well, I can say that Judge Grendel is very aware of the
Okay,
financials, and
yeah.
he has great concern over
Okay.
the financials.
I know he does, yeah,
I can't speak for the other one, that he feels the same,
right.
but I think he sees an opportunity, Judge Berger sees an opportunity in trying to repurpose half of it to try to put us in a better
Good, okay.
financial situation.
As long as we're, I think maybe, you know, as a group moving that way, that would be great, you know, if we can help promote that. I know Judge Rendell is, you know, he's been one of the ones that's been pretty vocal about, you know, I think he may have one or two residents in there right now, and, you know, whether it's one or two, you still have, you
All
know.
the space.
31 staff, that's
employees,
the
right.
problem.
Yeah, right, so, trying to figure out a way to, you know, it just doesn't make good financial business sense to continue to make
Doesn't
those.
make any sense.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I think that's why they are looking at, you know, even though with the repurposing, it's not
Mhm.
like they can necessarily transition staffing from one entity to
True.
the other, because you have to have certain certifications and stuff, and that was discussed.
Right,
It
right,
would still probably mean that
okay,
they would have to take a look at
okay,
staffing.
well, good, well, I think we're all on the same page.
I
and,
actually, let's see, who else was there? I thought Jim DeVore
He might have
was at
been,
that
yeah.
meeting, because I was there, and
Yes.
Jim was the other one, because you didn't show up.
No, I wasn't there.
And Ralph
No,
didn't show up.
I wasn't
so-
there, no, and I wanted to be there, because I
Yeah.
wanted to really, you know, I think this is important. You know, it's kind of one of those things that gets, if it's not on the front burner, everybody kind of, you know, has other things going on. and
It's out of sight, out of mind,
Right.
especially for you guys,
Right.
whereas we go to meetings down there, I mean, we pass it all the time.
True, yeah. Well, great, well, thank you very much, and I apologize, I was late here.
Oh,
That's okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna move to adjourn the meeting then.
Great, okay.
Okay, I will second.
Roll call in.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Great, okay.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
Thanks so much,
Safe
yep,
travels.
have a great day.
Okay, you
too.
too. Who's coming here?
Okay,
So Joanne, public comment.
yeah, do we have any public comment, Ann?
Not yet, okay.
Brian, nothing from you today?
So Joanne should be up at 11
We can.
Yeah, go ahead.
And as well. Keep moving. Hello?
Hey, Joanne.
Almost afternoon, for goodness sake.
I know.
No.
That's what happens when you're
This
having
ain't-
fun.
Take a nap.
I looked at the clock and I said, oh my gosh, I gotta get upstairs.
Signed half of it and the other half I didn't, Kathy.
I know.
Can't explain that.
Sometimes, something happens.
Well, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about,
We need to reconvene back to the
Um,
commissioners. Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
We need to reconvene back
Oh,
to the
okay.
commissioners meeting.
Sorry.
Okay.
Didn't I put us back in the Board of Commissioners meeting? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, out of JDC, we need to come back.
Oh,
in.
I thought I did, okay. Well, return to the Board of Commissioners meeting. Reconvene. Okay?
Okay, all right.
Now, Joanne.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the email I had sent you regarding the Board of Elections and their space downstairs. The issue with the water is big, just because we never know, we don't know where the insulation could be also failing that's causing the dripping in their office areas. Well, it's not their office, it's their storage rooms. We can definitely start checking, but we're talking about the line that goes all the way from the first floor up to 7. And the first part that we did, we cambered and they saw the failing, so that's where we figured, okay, good, we got this taken care of, we got it handled. Well, every time it's humid and or very hot and the air conditioning is on, it sweats. And that's the water that seems to be dripping in there and other stuff. So, we think that, there could be failing, insulation going up above these floors that's causing it as well, still. And we can do the investigation and we can do the asbestos abatement, because I assure you there will be asbestos on that wrapping because of the age of the building, and that's what we found the first time through on the small section we did. It'll be a process of taking care of all that. In some instances, it's actually in a person's office, so we have to bust into a wall and that whole kind of thing. So that's why I just kind of said, well, the one little office that they use is kind of very tiny. I mean, it's smaller, or maybe the same size as maybe like Amy's office. And I said, perhaps you could store your stuff down at the WIC area on the side that JFS just left from. I mean, I know that that's dry. Well, then they came back with some of their questions. And one of the things that I guess astounded me was at the very end of that thing where they said, well, we were offered rooms on the first floor and nothing ever happened about it. And I was like, well, okay, put your thinking cap on, and where did this go from? So I called Todd because I know that he was instrumental, and then, I talked with you, Vicki, and we all kind of remember where they were offered, what we're using now is like a public meeting room down there, the old vending room, the couple of rooms that we are offering up to the land bank. They were offered all of those, and it was like they weren't interested. I mean, they said that there's not enough security, and we said, well, we could put camera, and there's windows, and well, we can put bars on the windows if you guys are serious and want to do that. And then they never came back with anything.
No.
So I was kind of astounded that she said, well, because it almost made me feel like we were not doing anything for them, So before I was going to respond, I wanted to get with you guys and see, it's my opinion that we don't want to get rid of the room that we're using as public meetings now, because we're using that we're often now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're moving our sheriff construction, or the jail construction meetings there now. They're doing, the wellness clinics things and stuff in there, so I would hate to see us give that up, because we don't really have another good space on the first floor for that. But the whole room that was a vending machine at one time, we just have a few tables sitting in there that people go and sit when they're on a break or whatever. That could easily be renovated into something which would give them more space than they have in that one little room. Now, the other room that they're talking about is the old print shop. And I forgot to find out what area it was that might be leaking, but, I think that, you know, the other side of the coin is with the old WIC area is, some of the things that they store are things that I believe are things that they use at election time. The 2, the 3 top times during the year that it's something that you don't have to access all the time, that'd be a perfect space. Because she was concerned about not being able to get through the building to get to it. But there's 2 entrances, there's the main one here, and then the one we call the back door.
Right.
And they're not that far away. But that would, you know, we'd have to have a conversation, obviously, with them. I don't want, you know, you can't make the decision for them.
Right.
But if you're okay with it, I could respond back to her about the old vending machine room, that we could turn that into an area for them to store
That would work.
in the confines of the building. That would help. Once that went out and then came back, they then sent a work order to Shannon about they'd like to have plastic put up under the ceiling in those 2 areas to, you know, to make sure that nothing gets wet. And I think I was sharing with you because I said, well, that only makes me worried about if there was like severe dripping, though the air conditioning is off because of our weather. If something poked or something let loose, then you really do have a problem, you know.
Right.
So I'm more for, let's maybe see if we can't convince them that they should leave those rooms until we know that we can do something else. At this juncture, I have no idea what it would cost to investigate the whole 7 floors for that other side of the stuff.
We would need
And
to
I
call
also don't think that the leak it's more of a dripping thing than it is a severe leak when the air conditioning is on. So, I'm not sure,
Joanne, would our folks do that investigation, or do we have to call someone in to do that?
we will have to have someone that has a camera
Okay.
that we can have do that. And then, to break through the walls, I mean, our guys could probably
Yeah.
do that, but then we're gonna have to have an asbestos abatement company come and do that, and then a re-insulator come in and
So
do
this is a
that.
process.
Yeah, that's why I said,
Yeah.
that we were trying to explain that it's not, you know, like a quick fix for you guys, understand, so. What do you think?
I think what you suggested, offering that room.
The vendor room, the old vending room?
Yeah.
Is it
I
okay?
think though that your wood suggestion is a good one, if you're able to
If they could,
steer them that way. I mean, it does seem to make a lot
that
of
I know doesn't
sense.
leak over there, I mean, as
Yeah.
far as we know, we've never had anyone complain about that.
Because we may get interest, I mean, we may have a purpose besides storage
For the first
for
floor.
those first
Here,
floor
I
rooms.
know.
It's a good location if you're coming in and out of the building. If there's a way to talk them and do it.
Convince them, okay.
Yeah.
I will
That should be
talk
the
to 'em
first
about both.
offer,
And then do the vending like second, okay.
Yeah.
We can do that, all right. Let's see. On Brad's questions about the rent for the land bank,
Oh, yeah.
I did find out from, Maximus, who does the report that gives us the square
The
footage that we
values.
use,
Mm-hmm.
that on the square footage that's currently 1059, $2.14 of it was attributed to all the various utilities. And when they come up with that, they actually get our actual expenditures and break it all down that way. So that's kind of the figure that you have there to play
Okay.
with.
Isn't that the same that we're charging WIC? I mean, the health department to stay in the WIC side? I thought we had a lease or something on here, and I think it
saw
was
that
1059.
Yeah.
Because that would include utilities in their
Correct.
section, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's already
okay.
done that way, yes.
Yeah.
And in the health
Okay.
department, yeah, you told him I don't think it's right for Kelly Jo to pay more
No,
than someone else.
Yeah.
So that's why you told him 1059 here, and then
Sure.
you settled for 9 over in Columbiana, but
Lisbon.
Columbiana pays her own utilities.
right.
So we don't pay
that's
that
fair.
piece,
Okay.
yeah.
So
And then,
1059.
as far as furniture, Brad got back with me and said, are there any donations? But I know that furniture, I don't really know of where we have furniture.
We have some rooms where, like, for example, if someone out there gets new furniture, they'll send their old down.
Right.
And as long as it's not broken or something, we put it in a room, in an empty room. You know,
Storage.
which is getting,
Yeah.
you know, far and few between down here too. The last person that was looking for some furniture was Randy Roberts.
Okay.
And we showed him what was there and he said, oh, you know, it's not
Yeah.
probably the
Yes.
nicest kind of furniture because obviously people are getting rid of it. But it's not anything that we've put in the back of a pickup truck and took to
Take
the
away.
auction to get rid of.
Yeah.
Where
Or
is it,
even,
Joanne? So we can-
They're in some of the rooms down on the first floor.
Okay.
Some, you know, some of
Okay.
the little empty places on the
Okay.
first floor. And we can show him,
It's not
you know,
bad.
because maybe there's something that, you know, they might wanna use.
Show,
But
Right.
that's just stuff
The
that
land
was
bank?
left over from other
Pardon?
people.
show the land bank,
Yeah,
cause we did see it when you took Brad
Some of
and
the
I
fun,
through,
you
yeah.
saw the rooms where I don't think there was any furniture in there at the time. so
One
was
of
there?
them
Had
had,
something?
yeah, some stuff in there, and I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
Are
it's not
you-
great, but it's not bad, you're right, I mean, it's.
That's what I said.
it's a start.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what, maybe you should also have Dan come over, Dan Morgani, since he's gonna be the new land bank person that will actually be
That'd be fine. I
utilizing
could
it.
be
I
with
think
him.
he should have an input
Okay.
to see what he feels he would need.
So are you then, it
He
will
is
be
not
your
in the-
desire, or you
Let
haven't
me
really
jump
talked
in.
about it?
Dan is not a full-time employee of the land bank yet, he hasn't started yet, so.
Oh,
Oh.
did I see something that's starting in
November.
November?
It starts in
or-
November at some
November,
point,
yeah.
so
Okay, yeah.
it would be inappropriate to reach out to him.
Until
now.
after, okay.
Right.
Oh,
November 4th is his start date.
Fourth,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
So you do wanna rent those 2 rooms then? Have you,
Yeah.
have you talked about what kind of rent you wanted to look at, or?
Well, I think they just wanted an estimate so we
idea.
know what that was,
Yeah.
you know, because there's been a couple other organizations, I think, that have offered space, but
Okay.
we think this would be ideal if Dan was here.
Centrally located and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
And we would wanna, like I said, we'll wanna make sure that it comes at least with 1 parking spot,
Yeah.
so that,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
with that too. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
we need to contract with IT, because we're not gonna be on, we made it clear that we can't be on the same.
Correct.
So, do we still contract with IT though for the computer and the phone, or,
I
I don't know.
I've never known the auditor to let any outside agency be on our network of any kind. And now with our phones being VoIP over, you know, voice over IP,
Mhm.
it's on the network too.
Right,
So that's why I said most likely this person would have to bring in their own phone line and their own computer line, or like Shannon said, well, some people just use their cell phones anymore, some people use hotspots on a computer.
What
It kind of depends, I don't know how busy
Oh, you have to
this,
talk to
you know,
Lloyd.
and if this person has a personal cell phone, they might not want to give that number out to other folks. I know that when USDA was talking about coming down here, they were going to be looking at bringing a phone line in of their own.
mm-hmm,
Same thing with the Ohio Department of, what was that guy? Not prevailing wages, but, and then they
Was it
decided
the-
that he
the-
moved to a different
PUCO.
job,
uh,
yeah.
Public
The utility
utilities.
companies, yeah. He moved to a different job
Yeah.
classification and they never got back with the new person wanting to come in here, so.
okay.
I've never known, like I said, access granted. The question should be asked so that you get an
Yeah.
answer, but
What
I've never
about
known
regional
her to do it.
planning? How does regional planning do their phone and email?
And
Their
that's
phone-
considered a county.
They're a county department, even though they're a board fund like the Board of Elections, so they are on our network. Their phone is here, their phone is off our VoIP IP as well as their computers. Well, yeah, they just have a different, their email names are different than ours.
Servers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though, aren't they quasi like the land bank is? Isn't it a similar type of entity?
The land bank isn't a county
Mm-mm.
thing at all.
See, regional planning, their payroll, their county employees, their payroll goes through us, and their
Okay.
funds are held by the treasurer and
Right.
dispersed by the
Janet's the
auditor.
fiscal
That's the
officer.
main difference.
Yeah.
Janet's their fiscal officer, so they use
Okay.
Munis.
I get it.
Whereas
all
land
those
bank's
type.
gonna go through family and community services
Service that way, okay.
as an employee under them.
And I know that the health department is changing WIC over. They'd like to extract her numbers from our VoIP and put it on the health department's VoIP. And they've got time, I
makes
think
sense.
they had Time Warner here yesterday putting something in for her down there,
Okay.
Okay,
to get her off like the
Yeah.
kind of thing, so
that makes sense.
that's what they were planning on doing.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have any more questions about that, or do you wanna contact?
No.
You wanna talk amongst yourselves about what you think you'd wanna charge as rent to him, so that we can answer him,
I think
or?
the 1059 is fair, just what we're
Yeah,
charging everybody
everyone
else.
else.
And then
that
just let
pays.
them know that January 1, it's apt to change, it most likely will, cause it changes every year.
Mhm.
If it's 1059, if it's less than 1059, that's fine for a lease, but if it goes over, we have to make that adjustment, I feel sure,
Mhm.
because that's what Kelly Jo and her folks would have to pay.
Does that fit in the land bank's budget? Did they have money budgeted for rent?
I don't think so, not yet.
Okay.
But I
Well,
think
maybe they were waiting to find
Yeah.
out what
Yeah.
kind of figure they were
we're
looking
kind of
at.
shopping around right now.
Okay. All right, well, then I can go ahead and
Yeah.
respond
And
to
with
this.
the
Yeah, answer
smallness of the office that we're talking about
It's
here, this is gonna be a very
It's not that much.
rich, yeah,
Yeah.
a pretty discounted cost,
Okay.
so I think it will be okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But yeah, they'll take a look at it and.
Yeah,
Okay.
Joanne, go ahead and
Okay.
respond to Brad about the 1059, and you can tell him that the 214 is in there for the utilities.
Correct.
And then just go over what we've talked about as far
Okay.
as, if he wants to ask the auditor, or do you think we should ask the auditor? I don't think that's gonna be,
You don't need to, cause it's through Maximus, right? I mean, she goes
No,
by.
I think you're talking about IT and
right,
that.
Oh.
right.
Well, he sits on that, is he on the data board or no?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I
So-
think that,
You might have to have a conversation with Janet maybe.
well, it sounds like we wouldn't go through the county.
What, it's
At
never
all,
happened
anyway?
before, Kathleen,
Right,
but Joanne
so-
said maybe ask to see, but it's never happened before, so
Yeah,
I doubt it's
I
gonna
don't-
happen
Have we
now.
had
It
anyone
doesn't
else
seem
that's had to
like-
bring in their own stuff before? Any other tenants here
Um,
that were not?
Well, I can remember when NDS wanted access to look up, some of the stuff that they worked with him on and they were declined.
Yeah.
No one here, we haven't had any outsiders in here for a long time.
Yeah.
We used to have title companies that rented rooms on the
Yeah.
4th floor, but,
And Portage
and they were,
Development,
I'm sorry, what?
Portage Development has to get their own into Riddle, right?
Portage
Or are they
Development.
on ours?
No,
They're still on ours
They're
because
on
they
ours.
were economic development
But
before
all
it
the
changed
other,
over.
like all the other renters have their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bank and those attorneys that have those
Mhm.
few.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be
Yeah.
similar to that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just let Brad know that. so
All right, I'll let
that's
him know
where he
that.
stands.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know what, I disagree with you, Kathleen. I think that Dan maybe should come over and look, even though he's not hired. I know he's given notice because I saw him yesterday at the judge board meeting, him and Bridget Susel serves on, and he's already packed up his office there. I don't know what it would hurt to have him have some input on the office furniture that he's gonna be using, not
Yeah,
Brad.
but that is a land bank issue, not a board of commissioners issue.
Well, it is a board of commissioners because we're looking to give the furniture, and I also, even though I'm an alternate, am considered on the land bank board. I just think that it would be a nice thing. I mean, he's gonna be the one that uses it. I don't see why it would hurt.
I think Kathleen's talking about that should be discussed by the board of the land bank.
Okay.
And Dan is the board's employee,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
rather than us saying what the
Yeah.
land bank's
Oh.
employees should do.
Yeah.
and, I will have, we'll have Shannon,
Brad
I'll have
can
Shannon
take that.
have the guys take any furniture or any chair, whatever's in there now. Because I think we should pull out everything and clean the carpets, and I don't know what the walls or anything like that looks like. If we're gonna, let's be good landlords, I don't want anybody to call us slumlord or anything like that,
He's
so
excited to
we
come.
can get that done while it's empty.
That sounds good.
And then the very last thing I think I had was the question on the record center.
Ah,
Oh, jeez.
So I called Iron Mountain and tried to get some information, and so the way the operation kind of works is we will transmit, let's say that we're going to transmit 50 boxes over there. The transmittal's gotta be very clear on box number 1 has this contents through 50. So the judge, let's say the judge wants a file on Sabrina Bennett. They will call They can call, they can email, they can use the portal that's open under that and say, in box number 3, there's a file on Sabrina Bennett and I'd like that in my office today. They have a 3-hour window that they can deliver within and it'll cost extra. Or normal pulling and delivery is 24 hours. Which comes with the, all put into the however many boxes you decide you want to store there, and they'll come up with a proposal for us on that kind of thing. Then when we're done with that file, they will also come back, pick it up, and put it back to where it's supposed to go. So it's not an impossibility to
Well,
think
that's
that
better than we
our
thought,
files
yeah.
could be all stored there. Definitely, I think there's a lot of them that nobody even gets into anymore that could really go right away, but I do know that, some elected officials had wanted to keep theirs on, because we have the site on site for a longer time. So I think it's worth thinking about, well, at least you have the option of knowing where we can put them
Yeah.
if something comes up with the look at this building, and if you don't care if I get Mike in there to look at it. Is that
Do
okay?
you think we should get a quote? I mean, just so we kind of know what we're talking about, or is it too early to do?
Well, at this, I think we can. I just think I need to find out from Glenn what kind of massive amount we're talking about.
Okay.
Because I know that the last I knew, Jill Fankhauser had like 50 years worth of records there. So, because they were leftovers from Linda.
What's the staffing of the record center? Is it 1 employee?
Glenn is, he's our printer. He does the printing because our print shop's out there. And then he's also the one who retrieves and does microfilming and so forth. And then Ramona is a full-time like camera operator. She's still filming records. And that would be another thing that if we're, if we're gonna continue that practice, we'd have to find a spot for that. But we also, I think, are at a point where we sent our first batch of records out to a contractor to do. And I just inquired with Glenn last week to see where we were at with that. We took Janet Esposito's payroll records, those ones that you can't really film because they're big. And the guy's almost finished with those. So we'd like to see the product coming back on those, and it may be time that we decide that that's the way to go as well. And I know that Iron Mountain, I believe, has a division that does that kind of thing too.
That's what I was gonna ask, I think, because you can send a box to them and say for 5 years, store the paper, and then after 5 years, he plays microfilm
Yeah.
that, and then they keep the microfilm too.
Yeah.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, they have
Now, again, you're
various
paying for
divisions
all
of
that,
all
but-
kinds of things out there, so I think that
And they
That's-
shred.
that's
you
an
know.
avenue, they shred as well, yep. That's
Kelly
an
Jo
avenue.
has a contract with them because she has the Iron Mountain.
Who does?
Kelly Jo does
Yeah.
on her floors.
Well, we set up one, I did for the sheriff's medical division, so that they can store their medical records,
Oh.
because they have to keep them for so long, secure and all that kind of stuff, so,
The key is you do have to be detailed
yeah.
with
Yeah.
each box, which going
Yeah.
forward will be easier. That'll be up to each department to keep their own list of what they're putting
Yeah.
in the boxes.
Yeah, because,
The nightmare is we don't have those lists for what's out there yet,
Yeah.
so somebody would have to do that
Yeah.
before
Right.
we send
Oh,
it.
wow.
well, I think that, I'm not,
Some departments did much better than others.
yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
them, there's just boxes.
I mean, right now, I think that, if the judge calls about something, is the case numbers are on the
Yeah.
boxes so that Glenn knows where to go to get that case number box and so forth.
Yeah.
Because they've got to be able to get in to get
And
those
those are
things.
ones that would be ready to go.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
others, though, some departments just kind of put,
And let's face it,
Yeah.
there are some things that are out there
that don't.
that don't really need to be,
Right.
because, and, we try to ask everyone to come out on a regular basis and make sure, that they're getting rid of their documents according to our, to the policy, but some don't have the availability, to get out there right
So
away.
does the clerk of courts just have a long record retention policy? Is that why she has so many years there, or?
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know what her policy is. I'd have to
Yeah.
get
I
a
think
copy
it
of it, but
depends.
I know that, I
I
know
know that
that they
it's
wanted
way
to
longer
keep
than any of
that.
ours,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, they just wanted to keep them in because it was
Yeah.
the space.
And some of it depends on the charge, different charges.
Oh,
kept
okay.
Different
You know what I
retention,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the prosecutor's another one that gets their files pulled frequently too.
I just think we need to keep in mind the maintenance costs of that building.
Well, that's right, and that's what I was gonna,
I mean,
that's my next
yeah,
topic
speak on
is.
that.
Yep, I know that we need a full roof replacement out there, that's one thing. And I'm gonna, right now, I'm sure we're looking at 6 figures to do that. And then, we're looking at a fire panel upgrade, and that is at, right now, the one quote we got was 22,000. So, there are things that if we're going to keep that for that, and then again, you just, on the top, you remember that that's not really that building isn't really meant to be a storage for records. It's not,
Right.
air conditioned where it needs to be and things like that, so, but it served its purpose. I'm not gonna say that it hasn't, because I don't know where we would put things. Departments don't have extra rooms that they can shove file, or keep records for
Right.
so
Yeah.
many years according to their policy in their offices, they just don't.
Yeah.
But, so if you're okay with it, then I'll go ahead and move forward with getting Mike out there to see it, is
Yeah.
that okay?
Sounds good.
Good.
And Mike, who is Mike? Oh, Mike
Bogo.
Bogo. Okay.
And yes, who's the one that asked.
And then you're gonna look at possibly getting a quote to see from Iron Mountain to see if.
Yeah, I'm
we
gonna,
were to go
Glenn
that
should have
route.
some kind of an idea of how many boxes and things, and we're just gonna have to start there. Or maybe they have like a sliding scale, like if it's 10,000 boxes, it's this, if it's 5, it's, something. And get something along those lines to get started to see.
Well, I was just glad to hear that they could actually get the files in 24 hours. I mean, I know there's an extra charge for that, but some of these judges, if they want the file, they want it now.
Right, well, that's the 3 hour.
Oh, the 3 hour.
3
Oh,
hour
and
is
24 is the normal.
24 is what she said was normal.
Oh,
And
wow,
what we
that's
might-
even better.
Yeah.
What we might do is like the 2018 records do stay somewhere here, but that's only, a few boxes maybe. And then after that, they move out, because those are probably more likely to be pulled
It'd be-
than one from 10 years ago or 20 years
idea,
ago. I mean, those
yeah.
type of, those are stuff we can all
We still
kind
have
of.
storage at the new courthouse too, don't we? I mean, for some
I know
things
that we
they
outfitted,
want.
I know that we outfitted the basement with shelving, and I believe Kent's keeping their records all
Are they?
there.
Okay.
So that, I don't think that's gonna be a whole lot of room for
Space
those,
over there.
yeah.
I just remember mentioned before that we had space.
This
over there.
paperless society that we're in.
It's supposed to be,
Yeah,
right?
for government.
Alrighty.
And then will Iron Mountain, I know they'll make it where you can go on the internet and access stuff, but
Yes.
they should provide us also a disc in case the internet or something ever crashed. When they record stuff, they should provide a disc that we have in case there was something go on or we got hacked into, that actually has everything that's been copied, scanned in.
Oh.
They'll give you the hard copy.
Okay.
Then they'll give you 2, one that you can keep like here, one to keep off-site in case there was ever any problems here.
Okay.
We could just put it onto our server, depending on the size of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that too sometimes might reduce the paper requests.
Yeah, check. Because when I scan my stuff, that's.
Okay. All right, then, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'm glad I'm sorry you had to cancel your other thing, but I'm
Well,
glad to get these
This
things
is
out of the
more
way.
important
Thanks.
though. I hate to hold things up.
Yeah.
Did you all sign these, or?
Amy, can she take
Or I
that?
can give them to Julie, I think, or Judy. And then
Okay.
they'll do their thing, and
Okay.
they'll call us when they're
That's what
ready.
you were trying to tell me then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Are you staying?
Huh?
Are you staying?
You want me to?
Okay.
Is that paperwork yours or?
This is jug board.
Oh, that's
Oh,
Tim's
Tim
paperwork,
left it
okay.
there.
He left it.
Take it.
You didn't take it with you?
Yeah, thank you.
It's kind of frustrating because when I start,
Come on up, Ty.
So there's 2 possibilities. You had wanted us to come back with what we discussed last week in executive session. If you want to do that now, we can. And then there's budget issues as well. What is the board's
I
pleasure?
think we need to do the budget issues first, because I want to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, let's see. So the big one is the sheriff, his additional position requests. And the board has been debating whether to award some or all or none. Do you have your priority list? Okay.
Thank you.
This is the one where I took just the priorities, and it came out to be like 660,000, I think, if we just did the
If you put all
priorities.
of those, yeah.
But that's still, that's plus the 1 million that we're going to have to pay, so that's quite a task.
And in reality, we talked about the fact that only the jail administrator is related to the opening of the new jail. Those others are just, in other words, the whole request isn't related to the larger jail capacity. That one jail administrator is the only one that would be. The others are other operational areas.
Which means all of these expenses are ongoing expenses, they're not one time.
What are you looking for, Todd?
Guidance on how much, if any, you want to place into their budget for these positions. The sheriff's contention of the letter he sent was that he needs these to meet his mandate.
Okay.
If you agree with that, then we need to find a way to fund them. If you don't agree these are needed, that he is already meeting his mandate, then it becomes optional. Do you want to or not?
So Todd, right now, Bob Pace is currently acting as his jail administrator. Is he on contract or?
Yeah, he added him 3 days a week for 36 hours, I believe is the contract. It's a pretty hourly rate, I can't,
It's like, I think it comes out to be, was it like $60,000?
yeah.
I thought he was a general consultant. He's the jail administrator.
Well,
Yeah.
that was the original
He started as the
hiring,
consultant.
and now he's been moved into that, yes.
Mhm.
He is.
Yeah.
That's, okay.
Yeah. But I believe, is he an employee or is he paid under the contract?
No, he's an employee.
He's a,
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
The sheriff had him sign like a memorandum of understanding as
Short
to know
term,
what his
yeah.
job duties were supposed to be, but he's always been paid through payroll.
And they didn't, I mean, I know Simsack was the jail administrator, but before that, they didn't have a jail administrator, was that
Danny
it?
Burns.
Ricky Neal, Danny Burns.
So has that always been a position there?
Mhm.
I don't know if they held the title or they
Yes.
just were the person everyone went to.
Ricky
Do
Neal
they hold
was,
the title?
and then
Yeah.
see, Bob Simsack was Ricky Neal's next down, even though he was I think a sergeant.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've always,
So I'm not sure why we're adding it then.
I think for the draft budget purposes, which is our next stage, it should include the increase that we already gave to the sheriff's office this year, which was substantial. And I think we should include that, but not, we've considered these, not include these additional changes in the draft, and we can continue to consider it once we see the entire draft budget as a place where we could add
Well,
in
here's,
the next round or not. That's what I would like to see, so that I would think would give you certainty for your next steps.
well, as far as the jail administrator, because that has been a position out there, where did they move? Did they fill Simsack's position and then, is that why we need to like, he's asking for the full position to be funded this time? Because now Simsack, they filled his, but now they gotta make room to put him back?
Trying to follow those are very, very difficult.
well, and see, you know.
Well, that's why, that's
You
why I
also
think
have to remember that they added Pete, and I don't know where that fell, you know, how that came.
Now, is he an employee?
Yes.
He's an employee.
Yeah, he's part-time. Is he
Yeah,
part-time?
Pete Karen.
And he works 4 days a week, I know, I don't know
he's
how many
part-time as
hours,
well.
but
I'm not sure on that, cause I don't know that there was ever any kind of MOU that went through on that one. And then at one point, Ricky Neal was still there working,
Mhm.
doing something differently than administrator, and I don't know if he still is or not.
Oh, Danny Burns left and came back, and now I think he's gone again.
Danny Burns was working courthouse security at one point, and then he was working out there as construction, watching the prisoners when the construction was happening, and that was being paid from a contract
Through our,
through Granger, but
Yeah.
we funded it through the tax.
okay.
So it's hard to tell you. But in all, you're right, it's kind of like, when I remember about the dispatch thing, you know, how they thought they had money or didn't have money, or they didn't have a position or had a position, you know.
I think we should just leave it as is, that's gonna be $1 million for next year.
When
An
did they
additional,
do?
and that's already
Additional.
been
Right,
done for
if
the
it was
department.
500 this year, it's $1 million, and they haven't
That's a
hired
big-
all those folks, we gave them enough
Not
money
yet,
for
right.
15, they've hired 7, right, John?
Yeah,
Yes,
they've
8 are
hired-
still vacant.
Okay,
But
They're working on filling.
right.
it's really an additional, because we're already putting $1 million into, well, what, 400,000 of the $1 million for additional staffing? Doesn't that get allocated this
It's almost
year?
700,000.
700,000.
Patrol and the corrections officers, that's going to be dealt with in 2021.
So 700,000 plus the 500 we gave them now, right?
Which turns into the $1 million.
Which turns
next
into
year.
$1 million.
Yeah.
So we're really looking at probably like almost 3 million. The one, if you do, is that correct or
You
not?
Two
mean
and
if
a
you're-
half.
You mean if you're adding?
If you only did the priorities, it'd be around 2.5, because it was
Yeah.
600.
Okay,
If you did them
10,
all,
okay.
it would be almost 3
1.2.
million.
Oh,
But I'm hearing
But that
prepared.
doesn't include what we already did.
no.
Right, yeah. So I'm hearing do the draft without any of these additional requested positions, just the corrections officers.
Correct.
They can do that. On probation, there was a modified request, 60,000 for an employee whose grant funding is no longer available. It is an existing employee. And then another 150,000. They still want to do the day reporting that they had requested back during the
Sales tax.
grant funding, or whatever you want to call it, process. They have resubmitted that as a regular budget request. And so the question is regarding those issues.
I think the 60,000, we kind of agreed to go ahead and do that since it is an employee they already have, and if we don't do that, then that employee will be laid off.
Right, typically we have.
So that was a grant paying for that, so
Trying
I
to make
think
those
that's
a
probably
priority.
what.
I think that's right, and I think on the additional, that is still something we're keeping on the radar, but don't put that in
The
yet.
150.
Leave it out of the
Yes.
proposed.
That would be my,
IT had also, I think it ended up being
I thought we took care of
42
them.
or 40, well, we did all the capital, almost 650,000 in capital, but they had wanted to create that separate
And computer.
system administrator.
system administrator
administrator, yeah.
that John Grossell.
Oh, the promotion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and by the time everything was moved around, it was around 48,000, I want to say.
Now, they're hiring an
An
additional
additional
person,
labor.
right? Yeah?
They're-
Ultimately, what happens is, yeah, they're gonna hire a low level.
Right, and give
And
John a
then
promotion.
people are promoted
yeah.
up. Well, John is the
Network
security
and
administrator.
System administrator,
He's secured, whatever his title is, somehow he's the security side. And then this person would be more of the regular
Setup of computer
setup
science.
of stuff. But it is there, so John already has his position, someone else will go in and take duties from him.
Yeah.
And again, all that rearranging was around 42 to 48.
Yeah, because supposedly John's doing 3 jobs now.
Right, but in a normal IT department is broken out, that's correct. So I still have that on the list, that whether we include it in the proposed or not.
I think we should.
I'm okay with that too. Thank you.
And you said it equates to what?
I want to say, I'm thinking 48.
That
They may have
sounds
done
right.
42 as just salary, maybe 48 by
I
the
think
time you
it-
got all the
I think
benefits.
I think that is right. I
Cool.
thought we had the
Under
breakdown.
50.
Why I have it don't have, but whatever that position is, we'll put that in the proposed network administrators. And then, let's see, we did the sheriff, we did probation, we did common pleas, we did IT, the general raise. You know, based on economic conditions and revenue streams, had we not done any additional increases, I would have been able to recommend around 2.5%, in part because of the savings we had on the healthcare side. With all the additions we've already done, we're already upside down, and so any amount of raise you give further complicates that. So I leave that to the board's wisdom.
I would think that the raises we would keep out of the proposed and do in the final round, depending on how it
See where
all
it
shakes
lands.
out, right? So that decision is still needs to be made, but we'll have a better sense once we see the proposed budget in front of us and can kind of walk through.
So what the proposed goes out, we would indicate
None.
that the raises are still pending.
Yeah. Because I know Ted, that the sales tax is up, and then with us getting rents and stuff for spaces that we had, is that all taken into consideration when you take a look at this? It is, okay.
I mean,
So there's no
we'd like to
windfall,
some
is
of
what
our-
you're saying?
No, there's yeah.
Just checking.
And that darn money tree isn't growing worth darn out there.
That's-
Well, get out there and
it's
fertilize it.
Tired of being shook, that's for
Time does
sure.
not have a green thumb after all.
So I think we are good enough. I will bring the proposals to you next week to
Okay.
review, and then we will send out. The steps to minimum.
Oh,
Do we want to stay on the 3-year plan or finish it next year?
Well, what do you recommend?
What
You
was
just
the-
said we're already upside down, so.
Well, those, you're gonna get to it by 2021 anyway, at least you've kind of
Yeah.
committed to that. So doing it 1 year early is roughly a $60,000 additional expenditure for that year, but you were gonna meet that expenditure anyways the next year, so it's kind of a one-time boost of, and it's between 40 and 60,000, I could get you the exact figure. Because we've had some resignations and hired the.
But it's
the
not a
employees
one-time, I
and
mean,
anyways.
it continues.
Well, but what I'm saying is, in the plan, it was already in 2022. Already. So the only, or 2021, I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say.
So the only question is whether you add it
Do
to
it now,
2020,
do it then.
because it already is in 2021 for that exact same amount. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
I feel like you guys swallowed the tough pill and implemented the 3-year phase-in, and that it makes sense to continue it.
Well, I agree, especially hearing that we're already upside down. I mean, I understand it, but if we can, stretch it out, I mean, hopefully, you said we were in a good shape until we started adding a lot of extra things, and I know not all of them are gonna be continue add-ons from year to year.
So on the proposed, we'll keep on the 3-year
right.
Yes.
plan rather than combining. That's it for the budget then, I believe. If you wanted to discuss the other topic, it could be in executive session.
What is it for?
Employment, you might want to include compensation in it as well if you want to talk. We're probably not quite there, so you might just want to go in for employment.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to go into executive session for G1 to consider the employment of a public employee.
Second.
Roll calling,
Rita?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
yes.